when I come with game with story ideas. Nope. I think you missed this rant. There was this back and forth I had with John Ford one day. Because for Hexagoddess, or politically correct, not politically conscious, where I was saying like, yeah, the goddesses are all awful people, and like they're trashy and whatnot, which they're not. They're gonna be they're not gonna be in depth. They're gonna be in depth, but on surface level, it'll be like, yeah, this one's just always on her Instagram, you know, like this one's like there's like surface level, they're gonna seem like awful people, but then like once you kind of get into through the puzzles and you get further into the stories, there's gonna be a little more. They're characters, and they're gonna be characters that are part of this world for a long time. But that triggered a conversation where John Ford said, you know, you have this all-female cast of goddesses. Maybe you should ask some women for feedbacks to make sure you're doing it right. Like basically, like the rough I gave, he said that it sounded inconsiderate, right? Which you know, wasn't the full picture. But really, I realized, thinking back to that rant, what we were arguing from a creative standpoint is creativity as a service versus creativity as self-expression, right? And say, you know, you want to make the video game about like if you want to make the game and all the goddesses about every girl that broke your heart, which it isn't actually, right? Maybe it is, I don't know. And you're dealing with the pain and frustration of that, and you make them all awful as a result. Like, I mean, that's still valid, and that's you expressing like yourself, your feeling, your soul. Okay, gotcha. And so I think that's but I mean that's fine. But if you did that and instead you asked for permission for how you should express these and deal with and cope and address and like look into these feelings, like, well, now you're turning that into a service. You're not really expressing like your heart, your emotions, your soul, right? And now that's like art as a service, which is I think how he sees things a bit more. Being a graphic designer, working for different companies, you know, I don't know if he's ever said too much about like, I felt this, so I made this. You know, and that was like the real argument. But the thing is, like, yeah, but that's just the thing is, like, I feel like a lot of times, like a lot of these big Twitter blow-ups and these big Reddit blow-ups and the game should be this way or that way, has a lot to do with this games as a service versus expression, and like where that line kind of is or isn't, you know, and what you are or aren't trying to accomplish. And I think like I think it's fine to like I mean, it wouldn't be my story anymore if I like, you know, asked all my lady friends, is this appropriate? And it's just kind of like, well, that's not Joshachu saying it, that's that. And then you filter it that much, and then it gets watered down, right? And it might be more palatable, but it'll have less impact. Like to me with art, it's more like you put it out there, and then that is your side of the discussion, and then people react to that, and perhaps that'll shape your further art, right? But and your perspective, and that'll illuminate things. But if what you're putting out there is neutered and not even your own real true opinion to go forward, that's just depressing to me. Like, there's no point in any of this. Women characters sell more games. Oh yeah, well, I mean, yeah, that happens too. I mean, like, you know, there's kind of different levels. I mean, right? Like, I mean, like, that does help. But I'm talking specifically about like a game I'm making, you know, that has an all-female cast. And you know, and it was just like and so like I understand where he was coming from, but it was like, I would never do this. I like the chill music too, Big Papa, right? Chrono Cross soundtrack is amazing. But like, there's no point to me do that. Like, you know, I make silly art and I've made serious arts, and I always make stuff that's somewhere in between, and it's always like stuff that's in me. And even going really far back, like novels I wrote when I was like 13, like that one I'm sprucing up and cleaning up and posting online and stuff, like that's full of questions and conversations I felt like I didn't have anybody to have with, or I couldn't have with anybody. Like when I was 13, 15 or whatever, or stuff I figured out, or stuff I felt people didn't have sufficient answers for. And if I went and tried to ask them if that was right, they would just, like, if somebody says, you can't think about this, well, then I would just be depressed. like it would just literally be sad. Like, it is just kind of like, so like, that's kind of what it is for me. And that's part of why, like, art is kind of something that, I don't know, like even with Cherry, like, to me, like, sure, Cherry, the story is really light. Like, your sister gets kidnapped by, you know, a princess that wants a sister, and then you fly through the air with an umbrella, and you collect fruit and whatnot. But there's kind of an expression about, like, a lot of the positiveness I feel about life right now, and it's still coming from someplace like, of deep feeling and like importance of family to me and stuff like that. And like, it's simpler themes than like some other heavy stuff that other things I've done has dealt with. But it's just like, I'm not in a space where I have to, I'm not asking, should I make this, you know? Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, exactly. Idea to make the artist responsible for how the consumer reacts to it or how it affects them. Well, yeah. I mean, I guess you could be responsible, but it's just kind of like, you know, like knocking the idea down. Like that's, like, and I know he didn't see it that way, right? But that's knocking the idea down before you even know what the idea is. You know, like, I haven't fully formed the idea yet. And I've just given, like, you know, the part of the iceberg that's above water, because I don't even know everything that's underneath water. And so, like, at that point, you know, like, the intent is well-meaning, but seeing myself as somebody, like, creating art, right, and expressing something I need to express, that's controlling me, right? And, like, what I kind of exist for. None of these are supposed to be grabbable. And like if you want to know where my ego actually is, right? Like, people think my ego is in how good I am at games, or like, you know, all this other stuff that sometimes we have people come by the stream and get mad about and try to insult me and stuff. My ego is not there. My ego is in my creativity, you know? And so, like, when you come after that, it's just like, nope, we're gonna fight to the death. Like, nope. It's just like, believe me, I'm a considerate person anyway, but like, you know, if I really feel the need to get something out, I need to get it out, because otherwise that's not gonna be Bubble Bobble feel. I love Bubble Bobble Genos. Or is it, or I mean, I say Genos 3 and sometimes I say Genos, but yeah. No, like the bad guys especially, right? Like these guys, when I was doing concept art for the baddies, I popped up and like right in my head, I had the idea of old NES bad guys and like how they kind of looked in Bubble Bobble and how they did all that, and I gotta scan like those old concept arts and stuff. Like, oh man, I love it so much. And I have the sound down right now because it would be like conflicting, but like they all make retro NES sounds. Like all the bad guys have retro styled sound effects. Yeah, extra credits. Yeah, I haven't watched them in a while, but it's a pretty good channel. As artists, we have to think about how things have a negative impact or positive effect on the world might be shaping indirectly the things we choose to portray. Agree with? It's artist's job to end as soon as the work is finished. Well, the way I see that is, you can think about that, and that's an important thing to think about, but you know, like if you're making art and you're just everybody's like, don't make that, don't make this, don't make that, don't make this, and like you're listening to all these disparate voices like in the entire world, and you take everybody's word before you make what you're gonna make, you're almost gonna be making nothing. It's gonna be so watered down and vanilla, right? There's somebody that you have to tell, hey, deal with it. There's somebody at the tail. This is what I'm making. I'm expressing this, you know? Like you have to, because otherwise, like, you're 100% service, and there are things that exist like that, and that's fine, and that's good, but like, that's not why I'm alive, you know? So, but responsibility on the consumer or not on the consumer, like, I don't know. It's like, that's just such a weird topic to me. Like we don't say that about like, we put, you know, we put a rating on something, we put warnings on things to tell people what's in it, you know, especially when it comes to movies. Like, I mean, there's a classical literature that's questionable and whatnot. It's just, I guess it's just, now we're making art in like the Twitter age, right? Where everybody has a voice and can find many people with similar voice and kind of come together. 8-year-olds playing GTA. We say that about books. Like, yeah, it's just kind of like I don't know. I don't know what to make. I'm just like, all of this has me so confused. Kid jumps on a turtle, do we blame Mario? Book's not being responsible. Yeah, like, a book is a book. And that's because we can't go on the creators, like, you can't go on Dostoevsky's Twitter and, you know, say, like, your politics are damaging, right? And he's dead. Like, or remember, I wanted to make this joke thinking back when I was talking about H.P. Lovecraft and how racist he is, right? And like, how I was laughing at it because of just how absurdly over the top and mean it was. And then somebody in chat got really triggered about it because they took it at face value. And I wanted to tell them, but I was too busy like trying to calm it down and get the stream back to like a conversational place. But I wanted to say, well, you should go, like, you know, send him a nasty tweet and let him know that's not okay, and tell him to change what he made. I mean, but like, just the fact that it existed, and I was talking about it like in what I considered like a negative fashion, right? Acknowledging that it was negative. That person was angry, and it's like, it's just weird. What, are we gonna go back and get mad at him? Like, take away all the Lovecraft novels because of how he mistreats black people? I mean, then you're missing like, so like, I mean, that means like, that's so weird, right? Because then that means like Bloodborne doesn't exist because it was inspired by Lovecraft, right? I mean, it could maybe in some other faction. All this other stuff that doesn't, like, that's just, it's so weird to me. But I think a lot of that, what I'm starting to get to recently is, I realize, so doing Postmate deliveries during the day and realizing you can have your groceries Instacarted to you, and you can go on and have like this very customized, like, you know, Facebook feed and Twitter feed, and it's really easy to have like this bubble, and you can very much, like, not only can you customize a world that's exactly what you want via your own effort, but like the algorithms kind of ideally want to do this because that's more beneficial, right? That keeps you on their websites longer. And it's just like, we seem to be increasingly having trouble with things that don't, like you don't have to have conversations with people who, not even just disagreements, but inject something into your day that you might not want there, or something you want is right next to something you don't want. And I mean, all of our advertisements are customized to us, right? And it's just weird. It's just weird. Like, I don't understand. I don't understand. And so, like, I guess that kind of gets to the extent of what I feel I can even say about that, but I mean, I really think a lot of this all stems from that. And so, like, we get away from algorithms, we get away from services we pay for, and there's a point where, like, well, you know, if Josh has voice actors, he needs to hire this many people based on the racial quotient, to support people of, you know, all these different walks of life with his like $5 voice acting budget or something, right? And it's like, oh, I'm not allowed to just pick the best actors. It's just, it's weird. Hansel and Gretel inspired a whole generation. Yeah, those old fairy tales, when you read like the real versions of them, right? Stuff is crazy. Pretty weird. This reality feels fake, Rant. Now that you mention it. Yeah, Rim. It probably is kind of part of that. Like, I feel like, as life kind of gets nicer, right? Like, things are getting more and more, some things are getting more and more abstracted, right? We spend a lot of time online, a lot of time with data. We spend a lot of time under aliases. You know, our money is it's numbers, right? Like, we're a long way from trading like a pig from a goat or something like that. And then like I was thinking about that today. It starts to make me understand stuff like, you know, you could possibly spend more time. It's quite possible you spend more time looking at fictional worlds than you do taking a walk through the real world, right? So when somebody's like, "Hey, the Earth is flat," like, I don't know. Well, those kind of people always existed, but yeah, it's weird. It's weird. Like, ever since the internet and real life kind of lost that barrier of separation, it's been a strange world, I feel. Pinocchio was actually hanging from a tree in the book. Yeah, I have this big compendium of old fairy tales, and like, that stuff is, like, everybody would be like, you need to neuter that and tone that down, you know? Saint Seiya, Knights of the Zodiac, what a disaster. So, I was talking, like, John Ford grew up on Saint Seiya, and I tried, so we were talking about it, and I tried to watch one because of that. And like, I haven't even seen that trailer. Like, I can't get into Saint Seiya. I don't know. Everybody's like wearing this like gold armor, and there's just nothing about it that appeals to me. I tried a few episodes of some other series, but no, I haven't seen it because I didn't pay attention. Grim stories, cruel and horrible endings. Yeah, I mean, they were really like tales to tell kids. Don't do don't do this or you're gonna just get like devoured or hung or decapitated. Like yeah, that old fairy tale stuff is woof, my goodness. We're kind of more used to like the more Disney-fied versions. And that sort of stuff, or like the stuff in children's book. Moon is just a projection in the sky made by the CIA. Yeah, but like, I'm starting to understand why people can think that, you know, because if the majority of your life is stuff just created by other people, if you played video games, you know, 12 hours a day, and then you go outside, like, I don't know, I feels like it creates some weird opening in the mind, like I don't know, I don't completely have the thought finished yet, but yeah, can't tell you the number of times everyone in the world is a human. And all our differences are surface level. Okay, it's a nice marketing line. True. Cultural difference, they change the way we think. Things you assume are general human characteristics. Yeah, and well, culture is important, and culture is kind of religion in a lot of ways, right? And and that was a chia seed in my throat. That's okay. That was nutrition. But yeah, like and it's weird now, right? Because internet culture is and I mean, more so than nerd culture becoming mainstream. It's like the internet culture's mainstream, like having understanding of tech is mainstream. And is that what schools are brainwashing students with these days? Like, I don't even know. I mean, I don't even think it has to be school. Like, we were like earlier, I guess the third time I bring it up, I guess I just really like Tifa. Like, how upset people are getting about fictional characters, right? Like all the arguments and petitions and how upset everybody is about Tifa's breast size, right? or like a Star Wars game or a Star Wars movie comes out, and it's like, I mean, I get it, it's something you like and you want it to be perfect and it has nostalgic stuff for you, but like some people are really serious about a lot of this stuff, right? Like, I got you. Like, some people are really serious about a lot of this stuff. And and then that gets me into like starting to realize like how real waifu culture kind of is sometimes, and how it kind of rises with loneliness, I feel, in some ways, and just like I don't know. It's just weird, but like I think in some ways it's just that, you know, you don't have to trade you don't have to hunt and gather your food. You don't have to trade a goat for a horse. You don't even have to go to the store anymore, right? Like, you can have your food brought to you. I mean, life is freaking good, but you still need something to be upset about, right? So when life is freaking good and you need something to be upset about because your value system doesn't really have to care about like the things that are ultra life critical, you know, you don't have to think about food, you don't have to think about shelter, you don't have to think about being alive. Like, I mean, some places you do, and some people, it varies, right, depending on where you're at and whatnot. But I think those people aren't complaining about how Luke Skywalker's treated in the new Star Wars, right? Like, you still have to have something to be upset about, because it's all relative, right? And when I like I say, like, people are like, we're moving towards a utopia, we're moving towards a dystopia. It's all gonna be, it's like, but people who are born in that utopia or that dystopia, it's gonna be relative. They're just gonna be like, well, this is the baseline, this is the new normal, this is normal for me. And then there's a utopia, dystopia from there, right? I think I'm getting too far off. But, it's like, people are gonna find something to be upset with. And like, our values are shifting to more and more abstract things. I think it's what's going on. And maybe that's making life feel less real, maybe. Point being inclusive is understand everyone has a different background and culture, to acknowledge that and perhaps act accordingly or be more understanding. Mindfulness is the word I like to use about this stuff. And when it comes to like the inclusivity or considering other people's feelings in your actions, and that doesn't mean don't do or don't, like, doing or not doing something sometimes, but it's like mindfulness or awareness of your actions or what this and that means. I feel is a healthy like way to approach it without, like, I don't know, lopping off your arm emotionally or as far as integrity or values go. Like, that feels like a word garble, but it's a good word. I shall steal it. Yeah. Because I feel like that, it's not authoritative. It's like a suggestion. And like, it kind of doesn't really say all that much. It's just like, hey, keep in mind, people might feel that way. Because that's why I feel like on my stream, like, I never have something I want to say that I don't say, right? It's just like it's just about how you present it, right? Or how you arrange the dish on the plate, the topic, the subject, right? And if you're mindful, it's like, well, you can still keep your left arm or whatever you care strongly about. It's just be aware that people are going to react that way. It's like, let them react that way, but if you show awareness that they're going to react that way and what you're doing, like, I don't know, it's mindful. Changes it. Advantages of having seen movies in different cultures, more for realized differences. And what is normal for you couldn't be for someone else. Therefore, the best thing is to be tolerant with those differences. Yeah. That's exactly it. And that gets, whatchamafaceit. Like, I remember for the longest time, what was it? God, there's something in there about like American games and our history with the gun versus like we have no history with like swords, not like say Japanese culture or something like that, right? Or just other cultures in general. There was something there, and then it was just like, because I had a friend who used to just I can't make it add up in my head, but it's just kind of like, but yeah, I mean, I think that adds it best. It's just like, you know, what's normal for you might not be for somebody else, and that can be on a much deeper level than you realize. A lot of people learn that experientially, I feel, and a lot of people have a very strong, hard stance on things as they experientially learn that their perspective probably isn't the center of the world, and they're gonna scream at everybody about it on Twitter. but yeah, being mindful is good. It's a good rant. That's a good rant.